Hello there! Welcome to Hiking with the Book of Mormon and my gun. That's my gun right there. That's it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's pick up right where we left off last time. So last time we just got through 1 Nephi chapter 4, where Nephi was going to get the plates of brass. He was led by the Spirit to acquire them. He had to, unfortunately, or maybe you could say fortunately, depending how you see it, but he had to unfortunately kill a wicked man. Because if he didn't, then a whole nation would basically not be able to live their faith. So that's kind of what we did last time. Let's get into it. We're into 1 Nephi chapter 5 now. Let's do it. And it came to pass that after we had come down into the wilderness unto our father, behold, he was filled with joy. And also my mother, Sariah, was exceedingly glad, for she truly had mourned because of us. For she supposed that we had perished in the wilderness, and she also had complained against my father, telling him that he was a visionary man, saying, Behold, thou hast led for us forth from the land of our inheritance, and my sons are no more, and we perish in the wilderness. And after this manner of language had my mother complained against my father. And it came to pass, now this is actually really cool. So it's normal for a mother to be worried about her children, right? It's very normal. But I think Lehi's response that we're about to read here shows just how faithful of a man Lehi is. Here his own wife is complaining against him, basically saying, it's your fault that our children are dead. They're dead and it's your fault. She was beside herself with grief. And if he had wanted to, he could really have jumped at that. He could have responded in a very, very angry or reciprocal way, you could say. But his response is really cool, and it shows how faithful of a man he is. So let's see, he says, And it came to pass that my father spake unto her, saying, I know that I am a visionary man. For if I had not seen the things of God in a vision, I should have not known the goodness of God, but had tarried at Jerusalem, and perished with my brethren. Behold, I have obtained a land of promise, in the which things I do rejoice. Yea, I know that the Lord will deliver my sons out of the hands of Laban, and bring them down again unto us in the wilderness. And after this manner of language did my father Lehi comfort my mother Sariah concerning us, while we journeyed in the wilderness up to the land of Jerusalem to obtain the record of the Jews. So here she is complaining, like basically blaming Lehi for killing their children. And instead of being angry, instead of kind of responding in the same way, Lehi starts comforting her. And not only is he like comforting her, but he's telling her, I know I'm a visionary man. I know I am. And that is a good thing, because those visions showed me the goodness of God. So it's so cool how he responded to her. She's angry and blaming him, and he turns around and comforts her, and then just totally agrees with the, I guess you could say, accusation that he's a visionary man, but he took it in a positive way, even though it seemed like she was saying it in a negative way. So it was just a really cool way that he responded to her. And that like lets us see we don't always have to respond to negativity with negativity. If someone is coming at us, even someone we love, we don't have to dish out the same back to them. If we take a moment and look at them, as I'm sure he did here, he probably saw that she didn't actually hate him or anything. She was just so worried that it made her do that. And he turned around and comforted her. So if someone comes at you and they're being negative, if they're being maybe even hurtful, you don't have to turn around and fight back. You can do what Lehi did here, and you can be kind to them in return. I know that is a little, not even a little, that is very hard to do. I have had plenty of people angry with me. I've had people shout at me, yell at me, say bad things to me. And it's not easy to turn around and be like, are you okay? Can I help you? What can I do? Or even things like that. Maybe they're trying to tear down your faith. And she wasn't necessarily doing that here. I'm just saying this as an example now. So it could even be like about your faith. They come and they attack your faith. And you're like, you know, I'm sorry if you've been hurt by this faith or religion as a whole, or if you just don't understand it or whatever it is, I'm sorry. But I full-heartedly, with everything I am, believe in this. And I'm not saying you have to, but I do. I know that God is real. I know that this is his church. I know it. I think you can be very bold and very straightforward. You can respond to negativity with truth rather than negativity. You can respond to anger with loving truth, because that's what we should do. Kind of like I was kind of ranting about at the end of the last episode about being being a truthful and honorable people. We don't have to meet anger with anger. We don't have to meet negativity with negativity. We can take the higher road, which honestly is much harder. But we can take the higher road and we can show those people love and share the truth with them as we should, as the Lord would. Now, I will say that there are times when people are to the point of having such hard hearts that nothing we can say or do will make a difference. They will just continue to hate and slander and be angry. And in those cases, after you have said your piece, you've done what you can, it's okay to leave. It's okay to not stay there in a place where they will just continue to hate you or maybe even potentially try to cause you harm. Sometimes, in the face of anger and hate, we don't even need to open our mouths. I'm not saying we should not defend the truth. I'm not saying we should ignore people. But some people are so full of hate that they will not listen to a word you say. They will not listen to a word you say. And in those cases, it is okay to simply hold your peace, to be quiet, to not respond. Even the Lord did that. At times, he did not respond to people who were past feeling, who all they wanted to do was trap him in his words. Sometimes he just didn't respond. And that's okay. In some situations, you don't actually need to say anything. Okay, let's go back to it. And when we had returned to the tent of my father, behold, their joy was full, and my mother was comforted. And she spake, saying, Now I know of a surety that the Lord hath commanded my husband to flee into the wilderness. Yea, I also know of a surety that the Lord hath protected my sons, and delivered them out of the hands of Laban, and given them power, whereby they could accomplish the thing which the Lord hath commanded them. And after this manner of language did she speak. I think I'm noticing now, because I'm talking about everything and I'm reading it straight through, this idea is coming up over and over and over again. This idea that the Lord will always give us the strength. He'll provide a way or means by which we can do the things He's commanded us to do. He will provide a way for us to follow His commands. He doesn't command anything of us that is impossible. He does not do that. When He provides a commandment, He also provides a way that we can follow that commandment. So that is something to keep in mind when you think about the commandments that you're trying to follow. Whether those are personal ones you've received or one of the many that are in the scriptures, it is important to remember that the Lord will not command you to do anything unless He provides a way that you can do it, that you can accomplish it. And I recognize that sometimes it does feel impossible. It does. There's some sins I've struggled with. Some of them I struggled with for decades. It seems impossible sometimes. It really does. It seems completely impossible that you will be able to do all that the Lord asks you to do. And I recognize that because I've felt that. I've felt that. I have very much felt that. But we need to remember the promises given to us in the scriptures. And here it is being brought up over and over again, that the Lord will never ask you to do something that you cannot do. He will always provide a way. He will always provide a way that you will be able to accomplish what He asks you to do. Even if it is hard, even if it seems impossible, He will provide a way. All right, let's get back to it before I start crying too much. And it came to pass that they did rejoice exceedingly, and did offer sacrifice and burnt offerings unto the Lord. And they gave thanks unto the God of Israel. And after they had given thanks unto the God of Israel, my father Lehi took the records which were engraven upon the plates of brass, and did search them from the beginning. And behold, they did contain the 5 books of Moses, which gave an account of the creation of the world, and also of Adam and Eve, that were our first parents. And also a record of the Jews from the beginning, even down to the commencement of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, and also the prophecies of the holy prophets from the beginning, even down to the commencement of the reign of Zedekiah, and also many prophecies which had been spoken of by the mouth of Jeremiah. And it came to pass that my father Lehi also found upon the plates of brass a genealogy of his fathers, wherefore he knew that he was a descendant of Joseph. Yea, even that Joseph, who was the son of Jacob, who was sold into Egypt, and who was preserved by the hand of the Lord, that he might preserve his father Jacob, and all his household from perishing in the famine. So, there's a lot there. There's a lot in these scriptures, these brass plates. And it's interesting, you see, it kind of enforces the point I was making earlier. Lehi didn't even know his genealogy completely, it sounds like. Maybe he did, but it kind of sounds like Lehi didn't even really know his genealogy. But in the brass plates, he was able to find that genealogy, as well as many prophecies and words of the prophets from the beginning all the way up until that time. That's pretty amazing. That's incredible. And the thing though with it, going back to the point I was making, he didn't seem to know that. And that's because he didn't have the physical copy. He didn't know that because he didn't have the physical copy. They needed those brass plates to be able to teach their children. They absolutely needed the brass plates to be able to teach their children the words of God and show them where they came from, their ancestry. Those things are very important because you see, over time, if you do not have an actual record, things can fade or become distorted. Languages can change. Memories can become fuzzy. I mean, if you want a good example, go to one of your friends, and you may not even have to go that many years back, but ask about a memory from your childhood, something you both saw. And quite often, I won't say 100% of the time, but very, very often, they're gonna tell that story and remember that experience differently than you remember that experience. They're going to. So our memory can fade. Our memories are not always reliable. That's why we need a physical record. That's why we need something physical. And that here is the whole reason why they had to go and get the plates. Why Nephi had to slay this wicked man, Laban. Because it's better for one wicked man to perish than a whole nation to dwindle or to not have faith. And you'll see as we go on that this family, they become a nation. And that's why I keep bringing this up, and that's why it brings it up in here, because this family, they leave Jerusalem. They're eventually going to travel, spoiler alert, towards the Americas, and they become a nation. If they had not had the brass plates, if they had not had a physical record, they couldn't have remembered all they needed to teach their children the right ways, the ways of God. And now when my father saw these things, he was filled with the Holy Spirit and began to prophesy concerning his seed, that these plates of brass should go forth unto all nations, kindreds, tongues, and people who were of his seed. Wherefore he said that these plates of brass should never perish, neither should they be dimmed any by time. And he prophesied many things concerning his seed. And it came to pass that thus far I and my father had kept the commandments wherewith the Lord has commanded us. And we obtained the records which the Lord had commanded us, and searched them, and found that they were desirable, yea, even of great worth unto us, insomuch that we could preserve the commandments of the Lord unto our children. Wherefore it was wisdom in the Lord that we should carry them with us as we journeyed into the wilderness towards the land of promise. So that ending part is really what I was just talking about previously, about why it was so important to have a record. And you know, it kind of strikes me that we so often maybe aren't exactly dismissive, but we don't see how valuable, how much worth, what a great miracle and blessing it is that we have the scriptures, that we have the Bible, that we have the Book of Mormon. We don't see it because it's so common. It's so accessible. I mean, any one of us who has a phone can literally just pull up the scriptures and there it is. And I think that makes us sometimes forget just how amazing it is that we have the scriptures. It's a gift from God. It is a gift from God, and we need to remember that. We need to treat the scriptures as sacred things, as of great worth, because that's what they are. They are of great worth. Brothers and sisters, the scriptures are so powerful and so important, and we need to know what's in them. We need to know what's in them. Got that helicopter right overhead again. I wonder if someone's lost. Anyways, yeah, we need to give the scriptures the attention they deserve. We really do. And I'm not perfect at this. I will not deny for a moment that I have felt that same way oftentimes, that I forget just how important and how valuable the scriptures are, because they're common nowadays. They're common nowadays. They're very accessible. They're very easy to get, very easy to read. And I think that's kind of part of the problem. It's also an amazing gift that everyone can have the scriptures, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it makes us a little lazy, a little lax, because it's so common, we forget how important it is. Because it's always there, we think, I can do it later. I have them all the time. I'll do it later. I'll wait. And that's a sad thing to do, because when you look at the rest of the world, at the times and seasons when the scriptures were not so accessible, people would do anything to get them, anything to know them. I mean, think back where people literally were dying for the scriptures. Like think of like William Tyndale or others who were trying to bring the Bible into English so that everyone could read the scriptures rather than just the ones educated in the ancient languages that they were written in. People literally gave their lives Not just one, but many gave their lives so that we could have the scriptures, so that you could open up your phone and just start reading the scriptures. You could reach over to the bookshelf and grab a copy of the scriptures. So many people died and so many others sacrificed so that we could have these, so that they could be so common among us, so that we could all have them and read them of our own, come to feel the Spirit of the Lord through the scriptures. There's so much sacrifice and so much that has been done so that we can have them. And sometimes we forget that. I think often we forget that. I know I often forget that. So it's important to remember back that we need to value the scriptures. We really need to value the scriptures because they are of great worth unto the children of God. Just the only other thing I would point out there in the end, it said that as he was seeing these things and like studying the scriptures, the brass plates, Lehi, he was filled with the Spirit of the Lord. That's something that also can happen as we are studying the scriptures. We can be filled with the Spirit of the Lord. We can be filled with the Spirit of the Lord. And that's something we need. That's something we really need. Because the world is confusing. There are lots of choices we have to make that we don't know what to do. At least I don't. Maybe you're smarter than me, but there are so many choices I need to make that I have no clue. And beyond that, not just choices for our own lives, but when we look at the world, there is so much confusion. There's so much confusion, whether that be about gender or race or politics or anything really. In the world today, it seems like almost everything has become morally gray. There's not a clear-cut good and evil anymore. There's not a clear-cut good and evil anymore. Like in the past, it seems like it was a lot easier to see good and evil. But in these days, like everything seems to be morally gray. And you can't have any type of opinion on anything or you're wrong by someone's standards or another. So we need to be filled with the Spirit of the Lord so that we are not deceived, so that we don't lose ourselves in the world. In fact, a prophet in our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Russell M. Nelson, he was our previous prophet before Dallin H. Oaks. He said that in the coming days, it will be impossible to survive spiritually without the constant guiding and influencing power of the Holy Ghost. We need the Spirit of the Lord so that we are not deceived, so that we can survive spiritually in this world that has fallen so far from God in so many ways. And one way that we get that Spirit of the Lord in our lives is through the Scriptures, studying the Scriptures, finding answers in the Scriptures to the problems that we have. Like, I mean, even literally just today, as I was doing this podcast, you probably heard where I was getting a little weepy. Even today, I was reassured of something that I struggle with from the Scriptures. An answer right there telling me that the Lord always provides a way. He always provides a way. So we can find answers to our deepest questions in the scriptures. And we can have the Spirit of the Lord with us so that we are not deceived by every opinion and everything out there that tries to tell us what we should think, how we should be, how we should treat people, how we should tailor our lives, all of it. If we have the Spirit of the Lord with us, then God will tell us how we should live our lives. And we'll be able to receive answers to our soul-searching questions from the Lord. Because the world can answer those questions, sure. But most of the time, they're not going to give you a good answer. It's not going to be a good answer. If you jump on ChatGPT and type in one of your soul-searching questions, I don't think you're going to get an answer anything like how the Lord would answer you. Because the thing about the world is it will tell you whatever is most popular. It will tell you whatever has worked for the world. But that's just the problem. Followers of Christ, they're in the world, but they are not of the world. So we can't take the world's answers just because it's convenient and it's easy. We need to take the answers from the Lord. And one way we do that is by studying His scriptures. All right, I think I'm done rambling at you. So that's where we'll end. Thank you for being here with me, with hiking with the Book of Mormon and my gun. If you're liking the content, like it and subscribe for more. I'll be continuing to put out more of this. I'm planning to do the whole Book of Mormon. So we'll see how that goes. And so subscribe so you know when new stuff is coming out, and comment. Commenting is great. If there's stuff I didn't talk about that you're like, hey, you should talk about that, throw down a comment and I'll give you my thoughts. And share it with people. Share it with some people, because I'm sure some of my ramblings, or at least what I read from the scriptures, will help someone. So share it with some people. All right, thank you. Go out there, have some fun, do some hiking, read the Book of Mormon, and if you're alone in the mountains or somewhere isolated, take some protection with you, like maybe a gun or something. I don't know. That's just the name of the channel. All right, have fun out there.